What if the guidance you've been searching for outside yourself has been quietly speaking to you all along, from within? Have you ever considered that the most profound connection might not require a journey to a distant place, but a simple turn of your attention inward, not through spectacular events or external signs, but through the intimate, subtle language of your own awareness? The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung proposed that beneath the clamor of our daily worries and personas, there exists a deeper stratum of the psyche, a place of inherent wisdom that aligns us with something greater than our individual selves. Yet, in our modern rush, we've grown unskilled at perceiving it. We look for answers in external doctrines, in routines, and in the opinions of others, overlooking the fact that insight often arrives as a quiet impulse, a sudden knowing, or a moment of resonant silence. In this exploration, we will bridge the psychological and the transcendent. Have you dismissed the softest voice in your own mind? This isn't about mysticism, but about attention. And when you learn to recognize this frequency, your experience of life can fundamentally shift. What seemed like chance reveals pattern, struggle unveils purpose, and the ordinary becomes a canvas for meaning. Stay with this and listen not just with your intellect, but with your whole being. This could change how you navigate everything. First, the whisper we attribute to ourselves. Have you ever been in the flow of a normal day when a sudden, clear impression arose, unbidden, yet carrying a weight of truth? A gentle nudge to reach out, to pause, to change direction. It isn't frantic or demanding. It passes through your awareness like a ripple on a still pond, leaving behind a sense of clarity or calm, as if you've been gently shown something. Jung referred to this as the intelligence of the deeper self, the aspect of our psyche that communicates not with words, but with symbolic feeling and knowing. We often assume our conscious mind is the sole author of our thoughts, but Jung cautioned that elements within the unconscious profoundly shape our lives. And if unrecognized, we may perceive this influence as mere fate or random impulse. Some impressions do not originate from linear reasoning, but from this vast inner repository where personal and universal patterns meet. Reflect. How many times have you had a gut feeling about a person or situation that later proved accurate? How often has a quiet internal warning prevented a misstep? These are moments that defy simple explanation. They are felt, and in that feeling, a deeper intelligence is present. Consider a story of someone driving to an appointment when a strong, clear intuition said, "Take the next exit." With no logical reason, they followed it, avoiding a massive traffic accident that would have trapped them for hours. They later reflected, "It was as if a part of me knew." Sometimes guidance doesn't arrive as a dramatic intervention. It can be a single, precise thought placed in your awareness. If you are receptive, you will notice it. Jung suggested that individuals are not isolated islands, but participate in a broader psychic landscape where ideas and patterns interconnect. When you cultivate inner quiet, you begin to access this landscape. Think of it not as generating a signal, but as tuning a receiver to a specific frequency. The frequency of genuine wisdom is not found in anxiety or noise. It resides in the space between thoughts. In the moment you relinquish the need to force an answer and simply become open and observant, you may realize guidance was never absent. You were simply not attuned to its channel. When asked about his beliefs, Jung once indicated that his understanding came not from dogma, but from experiential knowledge of the psyche's depths. This knowing is accessible. It does not require perfection, only a willingness to be present. You don't need to leave your life. It can speak to you while you're in conversation, making a decision, or simply breathing. An impression softly surfaces. This path aligns with your core. A quiet knowing suggests release that old grievance for your own peace. A subtle intuition advises patience. Each time you honor these whispers, you engage in a dialogue. This is not fantasy. It is the communication between your conscious mind and the profound wisdom of the unconscious self. Imagine your mind as a sky. On the surface, clouds of thought drift. Storms of emotion may pass. That is the weather of the ego. But high above, the sky is perpetually clear and vast. That is the nature of the deeper self. And it is from that clarity that true insight emerges, not as a shout, but as a change in the light. So the next time a subtle impression brings you peace or profound clarity, do not rush past it. Stay, listen. It may be the most important voice you will ever hear. Second, when the signal seems lost. If this inner guidance is always available, why does it feel so faint or absent for many? What drowns out its frequency in contemporary life? In our era, the scarcest resource is not information, but undistracted mental space. Our days are a cascade of inputs, alerts, demands, comparisons, and endless digital noise. In this constant stimulation, we may feel we are living fully, but we often become so saturated that no room remains for quieter, subtler forms of knowing. Jung observed that people will often choose any distraction, however trivial, to avoid a genuine encounter with their inner reality. Perhaps the central issue is not that guidance has ceased, but that we have lost the capacity for the quiet necessary to perceive it. The modern mind can resemble a crowded, bustling room where everyone is talking at once. Each voice can be a mask, a persona we wear to fit in, to achieve, to be approved of. When we become overly identified with these masks, we grow distant from our inner core. Recall the last time you sat in genuine quiet, without any device or entertainment. You might have felt restless or uneasy. Why? Because in that silence, inner truths begin to surface. Questions about direction, authenticity, and fulfillment arise. This is not an accident. It is the call of the deeper self. Yet our reflex is often to reach for a distraction, to re-engage with the noise and continue the chase. Someone once shared that after a career burnout, they filled every moment with activity, appearing successful but feeling hollow inside. A seemingly random comment from a stranger, "When do you listen to yourself?" pierced through the fatigue. They began dedicating 10 minutes at dawn to silent sitting. Initially, the mind was chaotic. Gradually, a layer of calm emerged, and within it, intuitive nudges became perceptible. One morning, a clear thought about mending a family relationship arose. They acted on it, reopening a channel of support they didn't realize they desperately needed. They said, "I thought this kind of clarity was for special people. I was just too busy to hear it." This is the cost of the unexamined persona. It is not inherently bad. It helps us function socially. But when we confuse the mask with our true identity, we lose connection to the inner compass. Ironically, The more external validation we acquire, the further we can drift from our own truth. A seeker once complained to a mentor, "I meditate, but I never receive any insight." The mentor replied, "Do you create enough silence afterward for the insight to land?" The answer was revealing. Guidance is always broadcasting, but we are often too busy transmitting to receive. Jung proposed that connection with what he termed the self occurs not primarily in ritual, but in the conscious decision to pause and attend inwardly. Sometimes, stillness is the only language this intelligence uses. It doesn't require elaborate ceremonies. It requires presence. As ancient wisdom states, "Be still and know." In stillness, you cease looking outward for a sign and begin to recognize it within your own being. Begin modestly. 5 minutes, no agenda, just sit, breathe, and ask inwardly, "What do I need to acknowledge today?" You may not hear a voice. You might feel a shift, recall a forgotten idea, or simply feel more grounded. With consistency, you'll become better at discerning the subtle from the trivial. Before we proceed, ask yourself, how many moments today did I reserve for pure, unattended listening? If you've ever had an instant where quiet suddenly felt profound, consider it a sign. Perhaps you are being invited to tune in once more. Third, distinguishing the inner guide from the inner critic. As you become more attentive, a crucial question emerges. How do I know this is wise guidance and not just my own fear or desire? Both originate within, yet one feels expansive, the other contracting. One brings integration, the other conflict. Jung stressed the importance of differentiation between the ego, the center of our conscious identity, and the self, the organizing center of the whole psyche. They are not the same, though they coexist. The voice of the ego is often the first and loudest. It speaks in terms of lack, comparison, and defense. You're not ready. What will they think? Protect yourself at all costs. The voice of the deeper self arrives differently. It is quieter, often emerging after the initial noise subsides. It might suggest, take the courageous step, act with integrity regardless of outcome. Choose compassion. You can sense the difference physically. Ego-driven thoughts often constrict. Tension in the shoulders, shallow breath, a feeling of tightness. Impressions from a deeper place often bring a sense of release, an opening in the chest, a feeling of rightness or calm clarity. I recall an account from a researcher facing a high-stakes presentation. As panic rose, a harsh internal narrative screamed, "You'll fail and be humiliated." Then, in a pause, a calmer, more solid sense arose. Share what you know. That is enough. She took a breath, anchored in that feeling, and proceeded with clarity. She later reflected, "The fearful voice felt like me. The calm one felt like a wiser version of me." That is the boundary Jung explored, the voice of the self. He saw the divine not necessarily as a separate being, but as the ultimate symbol of psychic wholeness, experienced from within. When you encounter that voice, it is not something foreign speaking at you. It is a more complete part of you speaking through you. The complexity lies here. The ego can cleverly mimic wisdom. It can dress up fear as prudent caution or selfish desire as a calling. You might hear it in rationalizations like, "This is for a higher cause," when the underlying motive is control or recognition. True guidance does not coerce. It does not flatter or inflate the ego. It simply presents a path that aligns with wholeness. Ancient myths are full of this discernment. The journey requires hearing the enchanting songs of sirens, the calls of pride, addiction, or vanity, without being shipwrecked by them. You cannot eliminate the ego, nor should you, but you must learn to identify its tones and not let it hold the wheel. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." As you look within, you'll notice these two currents. Psychological maturity involves learning which is which. Perhaps this is a central task of adult development, to discern between the voice of conditioned fear and the voice of authentic wisdom. The ego is persuasive. It can cloak itself in spirituality, virtue, or ambition. It makes us believe we are serving a grand purpose when we may be serving a need for validation. Genuine guidance does not leave you feeling superior. It leaves you feeling connected and at peace. If you want to identify the source of an inner message, don't just analyze its words. Ask, what is the energy behind this? Does it feel like love or like fear? The ego speaks to contract. The self speaks to expand. And that may be why profound insight chooses the medium of your own mind. It's the meeting point of the personal and the universal. But only in reflective silence can you learn to tell the difference. Fourth, the language of symbols and synchronicity. Once you start discerning internal voices, you'll notice that guidance often bypasses words entirely. Words are the tools of the conscious mind, but the deeper self frequently communicates in the language of symbolism, meaningful patterns, and resonant events that seem coincidental yet carry personal significance. Jung termed this phenomenon synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle where an inner psychological state is mirrored by an outer event, linked by meaning, not cause and effect. He believed the unconscious expresses itself through universal archetypes and symbols. At this intersection of inner and outer, guidance can appear. A recurring image in dreams, an animal that seems to cross your path repeatedly, a book that falls open to the perfect page at the exact moment of questioning. These are not random. They are the psyche's way of illustrating a point, of saying, pay attention here. In a therapeutic context, a client once shared struggling with a creative block after a loss. She dreamt of a locked door with a keyhole, but no key. The next day, she found an old, ornate key on a walk. The following week, she stumbled upon a painting in a thrift store depicting a door identical to her dream, now open. She took it as a powerful nudge to unlock her creativity and begin her project again. She said, "It wasn't a voice, it was a series of images that my heart understood." Jung taught that symbols are the native tongue of the unconscious. Modern thought privileges the linear and rational, but the psyche operates on a different logic, one of metaphor, analogy, and feeling. Dreams, art, and so-called coincidences are its grammar. Synchronicity is not supernatural. It is an expression of a patterned universe where psyche and world are not entirely separate. When you are deeply engaged with an inner process, a question, a grief, a hope, the external world can reflect it back in surprising ways. You might be pondering a decision and hear a snippet of conversation that directly addresses your dilemma. Science might call this selective attention. Jung added that when the psyche is intensely focused, it participates in shaping the reality it perceives. People who cultivate rich inner lives often report more synchronous events, not because they are magical, but because they are attentive. They notice the threads of meaning woven through daily life. Consider historical narratives where a series of unlikely events lead a person to exactly where they need to be, often against all odds. In hindsight, they might say, "Every setback was necessary for this moment." This is synchronicity in a life story, the sense of an invisible thread connecting dots across time. In these moments, the boundary between inner and outer softens. When we live unaware of this symbolic layer, existence can feel random and fragmented. When we awaken to it, small details, a feather on a path, a repeated number, a song on the radio, can feel like personalized messages. Guidance doesn't need grand gestures. It just needs you to be observant. So when you notice a pattern, a repetition, a symbol that resonates, don't dismiss it. Pause. Ask, what might this mean for me right now? Not every coincidence is profound, but profound guidance often uses coincidence as its delivery system. It arrives with impeccable timing in a language your soul comprehends. So next time a symbol repeats or a chance event sends a chill of recognition, pay attention. It may be intelligence communicating not through sound, but through the poetry of meaning. Have you ever experienced a coincidence that felt too perfect to be random? A dream that later unfolded? A stranger's words that answered an unasked question? That feeling is a signal. Share it if you wish. Your story might be the sign someone else needs. Fifth, when guidance speaks through disruption. There are seasons when no quiet voice is heard, no symbols appear. You may feel only emptiness, stagnation, or a profound sense of being lost. You might interpret this as abandonment or failure. But sometimes, in the very act of clearing away what is false or outgrown, guidance is operating in its most powerful mode. Jung called this the necessary suffering of growth. He stated there is no birth of consciousness without pain, When the psyche prepares to transition to a new level of integration, it must often dismantle old structures, beliefs, identities, and life situations that no longer serve the whole. Like a forest fire that seems destructive but clears space for new growth, this pain has a purpose. It empties you, and in that emptiness, new wisdom can take root. When familiar frameworks collapse and the mind has nothing left to grasp, you are forced to turn inward, precisely where the deeper self resides. Jung described this as a shift from ego-centering to self-centering. What feels like an ending is often the start of a more authentic existence, where silence itself becomes a teacher and pain a portal. A story comes to mind of an accomplished professional who was passed over for a promotion he had worked toward for years. The rejection triggered not just disappointment, but a full existential crisis. In the depths of this despair, he had a vivid dream of being in a barren field, digging in dry soil. Just as he was about to give up, his hand struck a buried seed pod, glowing faintly. He awoke with a strange, calm realization. I've been cultivating the wrong soil. His identity was fused with a corporate ladder. The crisis forced him to ask what he truly wanted to grow. He eventually shifted to a different field, one aligned with a long neglected passion. He later said, "It felt like a demolition at the time. Now I see it was a liberation." In Jung's view, such pain can be the psyche's most direct language. When what you think you need is removed, the soul is indicating you've been drawing from a shallow well. This process isn't punishment, it's initiation. It breaks the ego's rigid hold, creating an opening. Modern psychology and neuroscience echo this. Post-traumatic growth is a documented phenomenon. After significant loss or stress, the brain can reorganize toward greater resilience and empathy. The psyche, too, can rebuild itself with greater complexity and compassion. Pain is not the goal, but it can be the catalyst that makes us willing to listen at a depth we previously avoided. If the previous section was about noticing signs, this is about recognizing that when everything falls apart, it may be a profound form of guidance saying, a new foundation is needed. So if you are in a season of struggle, do not be too quick to assume you are off path. You might be on a crucial, if difficult, part of it. The guidance may be speaking in the language of dismantling. While you feel you are breaking, you may actually be being remade. Let every fracture become a place where new understanding can enter. For sometimes, the most direct message does not come during peace, but emerges from the quiet after the storm. Sixth, integration through action. Ultimately, this inner dialogue is not meant to remain a passive, internal experience. It seeks expression in how you live. Jung noted that we are defined by our actions, not our intentions. Your daily conduct is your most honest response to whatever wisdom you perceive. To hear this guidance is one thing. To live by it is the integration that makes it real. Each time you choose authenticity over approval, kindness over judgment, or courage over comfort. You are translating that inner whisper into outer reality. Every time you set a boundary that honors your well-being, you are honoring that deeper knowing. Because this intelligence does not speak merely for you to have insights, it speaks so that your life becomes a reflection of wholeness. Jung believed consciousness crystallizes only when we begin to act from our inner truth. You can study philosophy for decades, but if you consistently betray your own values in your choices, you have not truly listened. I remember an individual who, by all external metrics, had a picture-perfect life. A prestigious career, a busy social calendar, material comfort. Yet she described a persistent inner numbness. She prayed for direction, but heard nothing. One afternoon, in a moment of sheer honesty with herself, she acknowledged she felt like a guest in her own life. A quiet but firm thought arose. What would you do if you were not trying to impress anyone? The answer was clear. She would write. The next week, she began getting up an hour earlier to write, just for herself. That small action, born from an inner nudge, began to thaw the numbness. It wasn't an overnight change, but a reorientation. She later said, "I stopped asking for a loud sign and started following the quiet one I'd been ignoring." When your behavior aligns with what your soul knows is true, you no longer need to search for guidance externally. You embody it. When you act with integrity, even at a cost, or respond with compassion instead of reactivity, that intelligence is moving through you. This is why Jung saw the journey as one of becoming, not just understanding. A person who truly listens doesn't need to announce their depth. It is evident in their presence, their choices, their calm amidst chaos. Think of it as an instrument. If it's out of tune, even skilled playing will sound discordant. But when your inner and outer lives are in harmony, when thought, feeling, and action vibrate in alignment, your life takes on a quality of effortless flow. You cease searching for purpose because your living becomes purposeful. History offers examples of individuals who lived this integration. They didn't necessarily preach, they embodied. Their impact came not from speeches, but from the quality of their presence and action in the world. When asked about their inspiration, they might point not upward to the sky, but inward to a conviction, and outward to the need in front of them. They became the conduit. Jung wrote that the greatest privilege is to become who you truly are. Once you grasp that listening is ultimately about living each moment in congruence with that true self, you'll see the guidance was always present. So if you're seeking this connection, don't just look for it in meditation. Look for it in your daily decisions. If you live with awareness, honesty, and care, you are not just hearing it, you are allowing it to express itself through your unique form. Then you may realize this intelligence doesn't just speak to you, it sings through the story of your life. Seventh, when your life becomes the vessel. When a person consistently listens and acts from that place, something shifts. They no longer need to claim spiritual authority. Their very being carries a calming, clarifying influence. Remember, this process doesn't seek perfection. It seeks sincerity. What makes you a conduit isn't flawlessness, but openness, the willingness to no longer let the ego's defenses dominate. You might notice that as you align with this inner core, life begins to organize around you with more ease. Synchronicities increase. You meet resonant people. Opportunities arise that feel strangely right. You exert less force because you are more in flow. Like a clear channel, you allow a current of intelligence to move through your thoughts, words, and actions. This is the state Jung termed individuation, a greater union with the self. It's not that your personality vanishes, it becomes a more transparent vehicle for something larger. You don't serve an abstract concept. Your very existence becomes an act of service. I recall a teacher who worked with challenging students. She described early years of exhaustion, trying to force outcomes. One day, frustrated, she simply sat in silence before class and set an intention to be fully present. That day, instead of battling for control, she listened more. A disruptive student shared a story of hardship, and the class dynamic softened. She said, "I didn't have a plan. I just showed up openly. The right words came." From then on, she focused less on imposing a lesson and more on cultivating that inner presence. Her work became less draining and more impactful. She reflected, "I'm not the source of the wisdom. I'm the space where it can land for them." Jung suggested that the most challenging task is to fully accept oneself. It is also the most transformative, because when you accept all parts of your humanity, light and shadow, you become an integrated instrument. Science shows that states like compassion and presence are neurologically resonant. They can regulate and calm others. When one person touches their own depth, it creates a field that allows others to sense their own. This is not mystical thinking, but a description of psychological influence. This dynamic is symbolized in figures who expressed total surrender to a purpose greater than their personal will. That surrender is not weakness, but profound strength. The strength to let life move through you without the constant interference of the ego's agenda. When you release resistance and allow this current to direct your actions, your life becomes a vessel for qualities that heal and connect. A simple metaphor is a clear window. The window does not strive to be transparent. It simply is. And because it is clear, light passes through unhindered. Similarly, you don't need to convince anyone of deep truths. Simply work on your own clarity, and what passes through you will naturally illuminate your surroundings. At this stage, the prayer shifts from "speak to me" to "express through me." You understand the voice was never separate. It was waiting for a receptive, integrated human form through which to resonate. So, if this exploration has resonated, consider this. This intelligence isn't only communicating with you for your own sake. It seeks to communicate through you into the world. Let your actions, your creativity, your simple presence be the answer, so that when others interact with you, they might not see a doctrine, but they might feel a sense of possibility, of peace, of remembering their own depth. And then you'll understand Jung's vision of the self, not just the center of the individual, but the circumference that holds the totality. In that space, you no longer just hear a voice. Your life, in all its authentic expression, becomes its message. In closing, you may have once thought you needed to attain a special state or achieve certain conditions to find this connection. But a Jungian perspective might suggest you don't need to arrive somewhere else. You need to become fully present where you are, as you are. This intelligence doesn't communicate through disruption, but through subtle invitation, not in the extraordinary, but in the ordinary moments you fully attend to. When you are still, when you act with integrity, when you choose growth over fear, it is expressing itself through you. Every intuitive hit, every meaningful pattern, every transformative challenge is part of an ongoing, intelligent conversation between your conscious life and the profound depth of your psyche. So if today you feel a moment of unexpected clarity or a simple action brings a deep sense of rightness, know this: it's not an accident. It might be the most authentic part of you saying, "This way." And if this dialogue has opened something for you, pass it on to someone who might also need to remember how to listen.